Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be find a girl you like being around, who's nice to you, and likes her father if you want a family. Well, this particular email is from a viewer. He says his body count is so high that he's lost count of how many women that he's slept with. He says he's observed the girls that are kind of crazy are amazing in bed, but the ones that are kind of sane and would be great partners to have a family with and great mothers, they're mediocre in the bedroom. So that is his story, if you will, that he's created, because you can tell he's kind of jaded, he's kind of cynical, he's pessimistic, he doesn't believe that he's going to be able to find a woman with all the qualities that he wants. And so this is kind of his cope. This is kind of his excuse for continuing to think like he thinks. And whatever you focus on tends to expand. If you don't believe it's possible for you, it's like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you are right. And so in this case, if he believes that because now he's in a stage in his life, he's like, I want to find a good girl and I want to have a family, but I don't want a chick that's mediocre in the bedroom and I just can't get what I want, or I don't believe it's out there. And again, if that's what you believe, then that's what's going to happen. You're going to continue to attract women. They're going to help you play that out because you're disposed to believe your story. And the reason why people don't have the things that they want in their life, whether it's a personal or a professional life, is because the story that they tell themselves about why they can or they can't have it. So again, if you've convinced yourself that it's just not in the cards for you, or it's just a matter of dumb luck, then that's how you're going to operate from, and you're going to continue to meet the same kind of women that you've always met. Why? Because if you keep doing what you've always done, you will continue to get what you've always got. I was watching I don't know if you guys saw the podcast with Sean Ryan and Tucker Carlson that came out, I guess, about a month or so ago. And one of the first things he asked Tucker, because Tucker's been married for 40 years, and he met his wife, or he's been with his wife for 40 years, I should say. You know, he's got grown kids now, and he may be a grandfather at this point. He's a couple years older than me, and he met her. He remembers the day he met her. He goes through it, and he met her his sophomore year in high school. He saw her, and he thought she was absolutely beautiful. She had a nice butt. He went over and started talking to her. They started dating, and they've basically been together since. And one of the things that Sean said was, what do you think the secret is to a 40-year good marriage? And he says, he says, like, I've seen it through my own relationship and the relationships of my friends that work. He says, you got to pick a girl who likes her father. Because women who don't like their fathers or have a bad relationship with their fathers, typically just the relationships do not work out. And that's, I've been doing this 20 years. That's just the same theme I see over and over. If the parents are together and the dad did a good job, the woman is usually pretty good to have a relationship with. But if there's an absentee father, or she hates her father, or she doesn't get along with him, and the mother doesn't respect the father, and the daughters don't respect the father, typically those women raised in that environment are just extremely difficult, if not impossible, to have a healthy long-term relationship. And the other thing he said was that you work things out. If you have a problem, you stay up all night if you have to until it's resolved. You don't go to bed angry. You don't stonewall your partner. And I was doing a phone session with a guy the other day, and his girlfriend gets mad and won't tell him why she's mad. She gets hostile to him when he's trying to dig and open her up. And so she's purposely stonewalling him and refusing to make their relationship work because she's pissed off at him. And so that's obviously what she learned in her family. And so girls raised in a good family, like if you guys saw any of the videos that we did with Katie when she was here last year, love her dad, love her mom. They're great people. They have a great relationship. He worships his wife. She worships him. They get along great. If they have differences, they stay up all night and work it out if they have to. He's nice. He's humorous, he's bubbly, he's optimistic, and that's why Katie is that way. In the 20 years I've known her, she's never once spoke to me in a condescending tone. She's always been nice, always been bubbly, optimistic. If I'm teasing her or I'm messing with her, she assumes I'm coming from a place of love. She never ever gets butthurt. And if was ever upset about something, it was easy just to talk and work things out. But again, I just see the same patterns. Girls that are raised, even my ex-wife, her parents, she was raised properly. She was a debutante, and she was a good wife, despite the fact that we didn't stay together. I had no complaints with her as a wife. She was a good woman, good loyal wife, and because she was raised properly, she was pretty balanced, pretty together girl. But women that I've dated that were difficult to date, dad wasn't around. In one case, I had a girlfriend whose father had died when she was like 5, 6 years old. So she never really knew him. She just had some vague memories when she was really young. And her mother never had boyfriends, never remarried. So there was never a man in the household to teach her how to chill. And so she didn't trust men. She didn't know how to communicate with men. And she was a stonewaller. Just like, a client that I had that I spoke to the other night. And so their relationship is on the rocks, and it's been on the rocks for a while. And she's doing everything she can to fight him tooth and nail to prevent him from fixing the relationship and working through their issues, because she just stonewalls him and refuses to talk and refuses to work things out and gets so mad and nasty to him that, she'll leave the room or whatever, or she just turns into such an ass that he goes off and does something else. You're not going to have a healthy relationship with a woman that refuses to communicate with you. You have to talk openly and honestly about your problems in order to solve them. And if you're dating somebody or in a relationship with somebody that just refuses to do that, you can't work anything out. You can't resolve anything because they won't let you. They're too committed to creating problems for you and being difficult and making you suffer, because that's what they learned in their family. If you're mad at somebody, just ignore them, stonewall them, be passive aggressive. Hurt them is worse than they hurt you. And when you feel they've suffered enough, then you can just kind of sweep it under the rug and move forward and forget about it. But long term, those relationships never work out. So with that in mind, this guy's got a real short email. So he says, "Hey, Corey, I just want to say your material works, and I just sent a donation." Well, donations are always appreciated. And if you'd like to make a donation for the value that's equal to the value that you think you've received from it, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the toolbar or the donate button, either on the toolbar at the bottom of the page or in the sidebar on the website, and donate whatever you want. You can do a monthly donation or a one-time donation. They're always appreciated. He says, "My body count is extremely high. As a matter of fact, I've lost count. What I've observed is that the crazy ones are great in bed, and the sane ones will make for great mothers and settling down with, except they are mediocre in bed." Well, from my personal experience, I have not had that problem. I've had the exact opposite experience. Every girl that I had a long-term relationship with, that had a great relationship with her dad, they were spectacular in the bedroom. And I've dated some that were kind of crazy that kind of sucked in bed. So for my, what that tells me is you've really never dated a woman that has a good, healthy relationship with her father. And they're hard to find. They're very rare out there. But then you got to take a step back and think, people that are good to you, good for your soul, they're really in short supply. They almost never come along. And the reality is like, how often do you meet a new best friend? When was the last time you met a best friend or somebody you became really close with that has always got your back and you've got theirs? It's like, how often does that happen in your life? It's maybe a once or twice a decade thing, if you're lucky. So good people rarely come along. It's the same thing with women. Really good women whose goals and values are aligned with your own, they almost never come along. And so when you do find one, the relationship will be on such a better level than anything that you've experienced. But if you're jaded and you have a bad attitude towards women, then you're going to continue to meet and attract women that help you play that out. Because anytime you do meet a good woman who's got a healthy self-esteem and she was raised right, she's probably going to blow you off and think you're a putz and not want to date you. So the fact that this guy, you're just sleeping probably with a lot of loose women, a lot of women that are the women to hang out and have fun and hook up with. They're fuck buddies, friends with benefits, sex playmates, but they're not girlfriend material. They're not wife material. And again, I can't think of any women that I've dated or had long-term girlfriends that had a great relationship with their dad. They were all amazing. Some of the best sex I ever had was with women that were raised properly. And I believe that's because they got a healthy self-esteem and they love themselves and they're comfortable in their bodies and their own skin. And so they don't have any weird sexual hang-ups or anything like that. They really understand how to embody a lady in the streets and a whore in the sheets. But if you got a shitty attitude and your game sucks and you're not, you have the attitude like this guy, you're probably going to be hooking up with strippers and low quality women and women that come from broken homes and even ones that you think that are good for settling down. That just tells me they're probably mediocre women in general that got self-esteem issues. Because I've never had that experience. He says, you're probably going to say keep dating and eventually I'll meet a sane one that is also great in bed. Well, again, that's why you write a list down of what you want, what your goals and what your values are. And you should date based upon your values and whether or not the person you're dating matches them. If you're doing nothing but dating women on dating apps or meeting girls off of Tinder, eventually you might find one that's family oriented. But typically the girls that are family oriented, that are pretty, that are fit, that are in shape, their life is full of friends, full of family, full of social activities. And they meet plenty of other great guys that are family oriented through their social networks. They don't need to be on a dating app. They meet men as a side effect of their life. And since like attracts like and people who like the same things tend to like each other, they tend to also hang out with other family oriented, loyal and faithful people. You're not going to find typically a woman who has good values and was raised properly hanging out with dirtbags or hanging out with girlfriends that are trying to sleep with their boyfriend or their husband or stealing money from them or fucking them over or talking shit about them behind their back because, again, they were raised right with the proper values and they don't allow those people into their life for very long because especially if the parents meet or the father meets this person that's not a good person, they're going to pull their daughter aside and let them know what they really think of this other person because they love, admire, and respect their father. They're going to listen to him and they're going to thank their father for pointing that out and saving them from a lot of grief and a lot of trouble, and they'll just stop hanging out with those bad people. He says that's like a four-leaf clover and probably why most guys are miserable in their marriages. Well, most guys are miserable in their marriages because typically the two reasons why they don't work out is the guy is not dating and courting her properly and he's not making her feel heard and understood. And that's assuming she's a normal, healthy woman. There's plenty of Fruit Loops that guys are married to, and it's going to be impossible to have a healthy relationship with them. That's why character is destiny. You need to date and vet not only women that you're going to be involved with romantically, but you also need to vet the people in your personal life, your friends, people that you do business with, clients that you potentially do business with. Because, depending on the type of field or business that you're in, if you do business with a client that has low integrity, they might not pay you for the work. They might just screw you over and say, sue me. And it's just not worth it to spend money on attorney's fees to go after somebody that probably doesn't have the money to pay anyways, even if you do win your case. You can get a judgment against them, but if they got no assets to seize, it's like you ain't getting anything. He says, anyways, I have a lot of options and they all take up all of my time. I'm looking to settle down and have a family. It just means letting go of all of those options. Not really a question. I'm just interested in your thoughts. Let me know if you do a video on this topic. Regards, Bob. Well, number one, you got to change your attitude. And number two, you got to make a list of the most important values. But the bottom line is if you want to have a good, healthy relationship, girl's got to have a good relationship with her dad. She's got to like her dad. I talk to a lot of guys initially when we're doing a phone session, go, oh, yeah, she's got a great relationship with her father. I was like, well, tell me about that relationship. Does she respect her father? Does she respect his authority? Does the mother respect the father's authority? When he says this is what we're going to do as a family, the wife's like, all right, I'm in. Or does she browbeat him and badger and nag him until eventually he throws his hands up and is like, fuck it, just do whatever you want. You're going to do what you want anyways. Happy wife, happy life, that kind of attitude. That's not a healthy relationship. I'm talking about a man who acts like a fucking man, not a beta male who's a doormat, but a man who's the head of his household, who's successful in whatever it is that he does, and he runs things. He runs shit. And he dominates his wife. And he puts his daughters or his sons in their places when they get out of line, and they respect him and they do what he says. Because daddy knows best, because daddy's competent and he's confident and he's a good man, and he teaches them the proper values that they should have, and he watches out for his little flock. And if any dirtbag comes along that his kids or anybody in his family happen to bring in or get involved with, he's going to make sure those bad people get booted out of their lives. And the girls and the sons will respect their father's opinion because they'll know he's right. But if the girls don't respect the father and they think he's a punk, they can walk all over him. The father's a beta male or a doormat or too much of a nice guy, puts up with his wife being verbally, mentally, and emotionally abusive. It's like she doesn't respect and like that man. And if she doesn't respect and like her father, she probably is not going to respect and like men in general. That's just a fact of life. Again, because I'm dealing with guys all the time that are having problems with the girls. And when you do this as long as I have, and you've done thousands of phone sessions like I have, it's like you just see the same patterns over and over and over and over again. And so it becomes really predictable. And so you can either be jaded and go, oh, a good woman's hard to find. A good woman's always been hard to find. I mean, just like the Tom Petty song, good love is hard to find. It's, good people that are good to you, good for your soul. They almost never come along, and it's worth the wait. And if you don't believe me, just talk to any of your friends or family that have gone through an expensive divorce and ask them about the consequences of making a bad choice or choosing a woman of low or questionable character to get into a relationship with. It's not going to end well. And so if she's not easygoing, easy to get along with, nice to you, loves and admires and respects and looks up to her father, trusts his judgment, respects his authority, she ain't gonna love and respect you and be a woman that when you come home, she puts her arms around you and is glad to see you and tells you how much she missed you and she's been thinking about you all day, and then pulls your pants down and gives you a blowjob and hands you a beer while she's doing it. So you gotta vet all people in your life. Character is destiny. So if you guys haven't already signed up for our members only content, in the video description below this video, there are links to join the members only content on YouTube, on Spotify, and on my website. If you sign up on my website, or you can go to understandingrelationships.com and click the plans tab, you will get if you choose an annual plan, you get a 25% discount. There's a 7-day free trial so you can see what content we offer. I do 6 video newsletters like this one a week, strictly for the paid members only, in addition to the normal free ones that are on YouTube and everything. Plus, we have the 3% Man Mastering Yourself study groups with myself and the girls and the guys. And when we do viewer questions, we have those as well in the full podcast. And any other special videos or interviews that we do that are members only, those will be in there as well. So go to understandingrelationships.com right now, click the plans tab, and do a 7-day free trial for our members only content. And if you'd like to book a coaching session with me, you got a question or challenge you need my help with, understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.